2004, United Kingdom. The small town of Bishop Auckland. In the Hadwin family, a girl named Courtney is born. She grows up quiet, withdrawn, struggling to speak with strangers. At school, teachers notice. She's afraid to approach the blackboard. She blushes when someone addresses her. No one at the time could have imagined that this timid little girl would one day stand at the center of attention for millions. 2017, 12-year-old Courtney steps onto the stage of The Voice Kids UK for the first time. She performs Tina Turner's Nutbush City Limits and reaches the finals. The judges applaud, but her voice is overshadowed by bigger names. It seemed like the end. But in reality, this was the very first glimpse of the raw, untamed energy that a year later would set America ablaze. 2018, America. Courtney is 13. She walks onto the stage of America's Got Talent, season 13. Thousands of spectators fill the hall. The judges Heidi Klum, Mel B, Simon Cowell, Howie Mandel. At first glance, she's just a shy girl from Britain. Her voice trembles, her hands shake. Everyone expects her to fail. And then the first notes of Joe Cocker's Hard to Handle ring out. In an instant, the room falls silent. The timid schoolgirl transforms into a rock star. She moves across the stage as if electrified. Her voice is raspy, mature, unrestrained. Comparisons to Janis Joplin and Amy Winehouse spread instantly. Howie Mandel hits the golden buzzer. Confetti rains down from above. Within a week, her performance racks up over 50 million views on YouTube. This is not just luck, this is a global sensation. The girl who once struggled to speak in class now conquers America's heart. From this moment, her life splits into before and after. Hundreds of interviews, thousands of press articles, contracts and offers, everything comes crashing down at once. At 13, Courtney becomes the face of the season. The media calls her a young Janis Joplin and a girl out of another time. But with the ovations comes the other side of fame. Social media unleashes a storm of comments. She's not singing, she's screaming. Overrated. It's all staged. Thousands of strangers discuss her, criticize her, tear apart the image that had been built around her. For a child, it becomes a heavy burden. Later, in an interview, she admits, every time before stepping on stage, she was paralyzed with fear. I feel like my heart is about to jump out of my chest, she says. But the audience never sees that. To them, she is only fire and confidence. No one realizes that behind the applause begins a tragedy that will follow her for years. After the 2018 America's Got Talent finale, Courtney Hadwin found herself at the very center of the entertainment industry. She was offered contracts, tours, endorsement deals. In 2019, her mini-album, The Cover Sessions, was released, a collection of covers of Tina Turner and other legendary artists. Videos of her songs continued to amass millions of views, but inside, fear was growing. She was only 15, yet she was already expected to embody the image of a rock goddess. Producers insisted, you have to be wild, strange, eccentric. That's your brand. Courtney longed to write her own songs, but the response was always the same. No, the audience wants what we've created for you. She signed documents without fully understanding them. Her name, her voice, her freedom slowly became the property of the industry. At first, it was just dizziness. Then came fainting spells. Psychologists called it overload. The body of a teenager simply could not withstand the pace of an adult star, but no one was willing to stop. As long as people are talking about you, you have to keep working. One day, during a rehearsal, Courtney collapsed. The doctor said, it's stress. You need to slow down. But she couldn't slow down, because if she stopped, the world would forget her as quickly as it loved her. The harshest blow came not from haters, but from those she trusted. Someone from her team leaked her private messages to the press. Headlines screamed, Courtney doesn't believe in her own success. Courtney hates her song. Was it true? Perhaps. But taken out of context, those words turned her into her own enemy. Fans began to doubt, the media launched a witch hunt, and the girl was left face to face with betrayal. One night, Courtney simply disappeared. The stage, the the fans, the lights, all left behind. She returned to her quiet hometown in Britain and locked herself in her room. For weeks, she didn't come out. Her parents were alarmed. The girl who had just shaken America now sat on the floor in silence, refusing to speak. That was the moment when fame stopped being her dream and turned into her nightmare. The world stood still, waiting. Fans asked, "Where is Courtney? What happened to her?" Journalists speculated illness, depression, scandal, but the truth lay much deeper. In the quiet of her room, Courtney finally realized she had lost herself. Her voice felt foreign, the stage no longer hers, life imposed from the outside. Her own identity had dissolved into applause that had long since stopped being for her. When she returned to the stage, it was a different Courtney, older, withdrawn, colder. Her voice still tore the house apart, but something inside was broken, and the audience sensed it. Some whispered, "She's lost the magic." Others insisted, "She's grown stronger." The truth was harsher. Before them stood a girl who had survived a tragedy no one suspected. After her triumph on America's Got Talent in 2018, Courtney had hoped to steer her own career. Instead, the opposite happened. The contract she signed in the first months of fame became shackles. Every step she took, every note she sang, every post on social media was controlled by men in expensive suits. She wanted to change her style, to put something of herself into the songs. The answer was always, no. You must stay the way people love you. Your screams and wildness are the brand. Inside, everything churned. She understood she was being turned into a product. Refuse, and she would face fines, sums unimaginable to a teenager. The crowd applauded, but backstage stood a girl with terror in her eyes. For the first time, she understood her freedom was worth more than any ovation. On stage, bright spotlights, hundreds of faces, a sea of cameras and phones pointed at her. But as soon as she stepped off stage, a deafening emptiness fell. She had almost no friends left. Classmates back in England were resentful and mocking. "Oh, the star has come." In America, the only people around her were those paid to be there. Even in hotel rooms, she was surrounded by silence. Sometimes she turned the TV on just to drown it out. Sometimes she wrote messages and then erased them without sending. She could fill arenas, but she couldn't find a single person who truly understood her. That void kept widening. Each return to the stage grew harder. She felt she was playing a role she no longer wanted. 2021, a strange call in the evening. A man's voice on the line. "You must be quiet." At first, she assumed it was a prank. The next day, her parents found an anonymous letter in the mail. A newspaper clipping with her photo and an ominous line, "She will pay for everything." They thought at first it was mere hate. Soon, someone began watching the house. Neighbors noticed a dark car parked nearby for long stretches. It was a new level of fear. If earlier, she had been afraid only of the stage, now she feared for her life. And the worst part, the police could offer no help. There's no direct threat, they said. That was when Courtney felt, for the first time, the terrible realization. Her tragedy was only beginning. The harder she tried to fade into the shadows, the stronger the pressure grew. Producers demanded shows, fans demanded new tracks, and her family didn't know how to protect her. One evening in the dressing room, a label representative appeared. He laid a contract on the table and said coldly, "If you don't go on stage tomorrow, you'll pay for every canceled show. Millions." She read the fine print and understood there was no way out. Either she would become a puppet or they would destroy her financially. And then a thought was born in her head that would haunt her for months. Maybe it would be easier to disappear forever. At night, she stood for a long time in front of the mirror. Makeup, false lashes, a bright stage costume, the image crafted for performance. But the longer she stared at her reflection, the more she saw a stranger's face. Tears ran down her cheeks, and she did not wipe them away. For the first time, she admitted to herself, she hated what she had become. The voice that once saved her had become a curse. The fame she once dreamed of had turned into a prison. All that remained real was her pain. In that moment, something inside her cracked. She decided either she would find a way out or her story would end in the darkest possible way. A few weeks later, Courtney vanished again. But this time, she didn't go home. She fled to London, to a small studio where no one knew her name. There, for the first time, she recorded a song without pressure, without instructions, without a golden buzzer hanging over her head. It was a cry from the soul raw, uneven but real. When she put on the headphones and heard herself for the first time in a long while, a wave of freedom washed over her. But that freedom was short-lived. The recording leaked online. Fans split. Some praised her brilliance, others declared that Courtney has lost herself. And the most terrifying part, those she had been running from found her again. A phone call. "You belong to us," a cold voice said. It seemed there was no escape. She hoped for support from her family, but the blow came from where she least expected. A close relative, someone she trusted, sold the details of her escape to the press. Headlines blared. Courtney Hadwin runs away from fame, young star on the verge of a breakdown. The words were true, but framed to make her look like a broken toy. The crowd craved spectacle. Journalists camped outside the studio. People she had known since childhood turned away from her. The bitterest realization hit her. She could no longer trust anyone. Not friends, not family, not colleagues. She was alone against the world. Even in London, people began to recognize her. Strangers approached with cameras, filmed her reactions, and plastered them online. Every step became a meme, every word a headline. She pulled up her hood, tried to hide, but the more she hid, the harder they hunted her. And then it struck her. Her name itself had become a cage, with no way out. The cruelest part was that she no longer felt alive. It seemed she existed only for others' expectations, others' likes, others' fears. Her own life was slipping away, and one desperate thought took root. If the cage can't be broken, maybe the only escape is to disappear forever. One night, she wrote a letter. Several pages in a trembling hand, without drama, without accusations, only silence, exhaustion, and a confession. I don't know who I am, and I don't know if I can ever find myself. She left the letter on the table and vanished into the night. No one knew where she went. Her phone and passport were left behind. She simply dissolved into the darkness. Her parents sounded the alarm. The media screamed of a missing star. Fans flooded the internet with messages. "Courtney, come back." But she didn't. For the first time, the world felt it. This was no longer a story about fame. This was a tragedy spiraling toward an irreversible end. Police launched an official search across the UK. Her disappearance dominated headlines. America's Got Talent star missing. CCTV captured her figure in a dark cloak at Leeds Station, the last reliable sign of her presence. After that, the trail went cold. The press erupted in hysteria. Some reported a kidnapping, others hinted at suicide. Fans divided. Some blamed the producers, some blamed her family, others insisted she had simply walked away, exhausted. But the truth remained unknown. That night, Courtney had indeed stood on the platform holding a one-way ticket. Where it would have taken her, no one ever discovered. The internet exploded with a photo snapped by a passerby in suburban London. A girl in a hood sitting on the steps of an old building. The caption read, "Looks like Courtney Hadwin." Hundreds of fans rushed to the area, but when journalists arrived, the building was empty. On the wall remained only a shadow resembling her silhouette. That photo became legend. Some swore she was hiding by choice, others claimed she was being held against her will. Later, it was revealed she had indeed lived there for several weeks, without a phone, without electricity, almost no contact with the outside world. Each day, she asked herself the same question: did she have the right to return to the stage? A neighbor called an ambulance. From inside the house where Courtney had been hiding, a loud thud was heard. She was found unconscious beside an empty bottle of water and several sheets of paper. Doctors diagnosed severe exhaustion. Her body had collapsed under the weight of stress and isolation. She was rushed to the hospital. Outside the hospital, dozens of cameras lined up. The world demanded answers. What happened to her? The media called her both a heroine broken by fame and a victim of her own pride. But one fact remained. Her story was no longer a fairy tale about the golden buzzer of 2018. It had become a tragedy about the price of a dream. After her release from the hospital, Courtney hoped to start fresh, but the world expected her return and a new sensation. Journalists staked out her parents' home in Bishop Auckland, intercepted her on paths, even filmed her with hidden cameras. Newspapers screamed, "The broken child prodigy, hero or victim." By May, British outlets began to place her name alongside the tragic fates of Amy Winehouse and Kurt Cobain, hinting at a haunting repetition of history. Each such comparison cut her deeper. She saw her own face on front pages and realized the world was burying her alive. And yet Courtney decided to take a step she believed could restore her strength. She returned to the stage, a small club, only a few hundred people. No glitter, no golden buzzer, just her and a microphone. The first song, she sang like a cry of pain. People in the hall wept. It was not a show, not business, it was raw truth. A cry from the heart. But with the applause came a new fear. Phones were recording again. Videos spreading across the internet. Courtney realized even here, her freedom was an illusion. Even on a small stage, she remained a prisoner. Days later, a letter arrived. Not from fans, not from friends. A letter from the company tied to her first contract. It contained only a few lines. Either you return to us, or we will destroy everything. We will take your songs, your recordings, your image. It was an ultimatum. She was forced to choose. Become a puppet once again, or lose even the art that had been born out of her suffering. Sitting in her room with the letter in hand, she felt the weight of decades pressing down on her young shoulders. The contract demanded obedience, the internet demanded spectacle, and her soul begged for silence. She called a lawyer. The voice on the line said, "They've cornered you. But there is one way court. It will be dirty, long, and dangerous. But if you fight, you can reclaim your name." To sue the industry? To challenge those with power, money, and influence? It sounded suicidal. But for the first time, Courtney felt, if she didn't take the step now, her story would end on someone else's terms. The hearings began. Crowds of reporters swarmed the courthouse. Cameras flashed. Headlines screamed, "Young rebel takes on showbiz titans." In court, Courtney looked fragile, but her voice was steady. She spoke of being stripped of freedom, turned into a product, betrayed. Every word was defiance, yet each hearing was torment. The company's lawyers painted her as a spoiled child who couldn't handle fame. And still, as the case dragged on, more people began to believe she was not a victim. She was a fighter. Months of struggle ended with a ruling that sounded like a sentence, but not for her. The contract was declared unlawful, violating the rights of a minor. She regained her freedom. Her songs, her name, her right to be herself, once again belonged to her. But there was no celebration. It wasn't victory, it was survival. Standing on the courthouse steps, blinded by cameras, she suddenly smiled for the first time in a long while, genuinely. Because now she knew, the tragedy had not destroyed her. She had endured threats, betrayal, the hell of fame, and emerged transformed. Not a little girl with a golden buzzer, not a copy of legends, but herself, the real Courtney Hadwin. After the trial, she walked away from arenas and bright lights. She disappeared from television, shut down her social media, stopped giving interviews. People speculated. Some swore she was broken and would never return. Others insisted she was secretly working on an album. Courtney herself chose silence. She returned to the small town where it all began. Sometimes she was seen walking her dog, sometimes at the library, sometimes singing softly on an empty street. Not for the public, for herself. And strangely, for the first time, she was happy without the stage. In 2025, Courtney Hadwin returned to music this time as an independent artist. She released her debut album, Little Miss Jagged, filled with songs carrying deeply personal stories and raw emotion. Once, she had been bound to Simon Cowell's label. Now, that was the past. Today, Courtney controlled her art completely. In February, she released her new single, Spellbound, She shares her music online, especially on TikTok, where her charisma and unique style continue to draw fans. She's focused on creating songs her way, avoiding industry pressure, preserving honesty and authenticity. The press wrote, "She has closed the circle, from her first step on The Voice Kids UK in 2017 to a small hometown stage in 2025. But this is not an ending. It is an open question. Will Courtney move forward or finally choose silence? Fans are certain. Her story is far from over. But one truth is already clear. Whatever choice she makes, the name Courtney Hadwin has already entered the history of the 21st century as one of the most controversial and tragic figures in modern show business."